welcome to part 9 of the multiple choice quiz program. In this particular section or part we're going to add in the radio buttons for each various question. Okay, so to do this, what we're going to do for a start is we're going to create a function called create RBS, and this function would be called at this stage here, once we've made the question. So let's define this function now. Right, when you are creating radio buttons, you need to have a variable, and I've decided to use a string variable here, a string var variable, which is one of those special variables available in tkinter. And we're going to set that variable to 0. Now, when you set it to 0, which is not one of the choices which are available, that effectively means that none of the radio buttons will be pre-selected. Okay, next what we're going to be doing is adding each radio button when we make it to a list called self.rbs. We will then grid each of the radio buttons inside this list once we've made them. Okay, now what we need to do is, for each of the questions, we need to figure out how many choices are there. So are there 4 choices, 5, 3? And this could be different for each of the questions. So we need to figure out for each of the questions the length of the answers list. So let's have a look at that line again. What we're doing is we're going to the list called self.questions. We're going to a particular spot in that, which is determined by whatever self.index is. Okay, and we're figuring out the length of the answers, which is attached to that question object, which is inside self.questions. Okay, so once we've figured that out, that then will tell us we've got 3 answers, or 4, or 5, or however many we've got, and that becomes the number of choices. Okay, so we're going to use a loop here, a for loop, to create each of the radio buttons. And we need to create as many as we have choices. So for iron range self.num choices, we'll make the correct number of radio buttons. Okay, so at this stage then, what we're going to need to do, just put this back in, we're going to need to figure out what is the answer text for this particular radio button. So we're going to go to self.questions, which contains the question object. Okay, we're going to go to a particular question object, and we're going to go and get the answer from the answers list in position I. Okay, so if I was 0, this would go to position 0 in the answers list and make it the answer text. Okay, let's now make our first radio button. Okay, and we're going to add each radio button as we make it to this list called self.rbs. Just type this up and then I'll explain what's happening here in a moment. Hopefully some of this will be stuff that you've seen before. Oh, I made a mess of that, haven't I? Let's try that again. Okay, so let's have a look at this one now that I've got this sort of tidied up a bit. Okay, so this is going to make a radio button. It will be placed inside the question frame. That's the background, that's the font size. The text that's going to go on the radio button has been obtained from here, this part here. Okay, now we need a variable, which is the self.var one, and the value is also needed. A value for each radio button, and I'm simply making that equal to the answer text. Okay, now normally you would include some command binding in here, so something like command equals self.process, so question. Okay, now if we leave that in as it is at the moment, we're going to get an error when we try and run this. So I'm going to take that out, and also that incorrectly placed closing bracket. Okay, so let's take out this command binding for now. We'll put it back in once we've got each radio button appearing and tested that. Okay, now that we've made the radio button, what we need to do is we need to say for this particular radio button, where are you going to be placed? Now, we've already got row 0 with the question in it, so this needs to be row 1, but then the next one after that would be row 2, the next one after that row 3, the next one after that row 4, because we want the radio buttons to go one above the other. So we need to be using I and adding 1 to it for each of the radio buttons as we grid them. Okay, and we can put them all in column 1, and we're going to set each radio button to the left, but we'll put some padding on the left and right just to get it to move over and line up. Okay, well, I think this should make the radio buttons. Let's have a look and see if that's going to work. Okay, no error generated. Okay, and we have success. Okay, we've got each of the radio buttons produce one underneath the other. Okay, this is the correct answer, but nothing's happening. Okay, and at the moment each of the radio buttons can be selected, and we don't want that to happen either. And we want this next question to become active and the radio buttons to be inactive until we go to the next question. Okay, so that will be the job of the next part of this tutorial series.